There are moments in science when silence speaks louder than data. When a sudden stillness from the stars rattles the minds of even the most rational scientists. Join us on the enigmatic journey of why. As we delve into another mystery surrounding Voyager 2 just sent this transmission, and it confirms what no one wanted to hear. In the vast darkness beyond Pluto, where light from the sun becomes a whisper and time itself seems to stretch, something ancient continues its lonely journey. Voyager 2. Launched in 1977, this mechanical messenger has defied the odds, wandering into the unknown for nearly 5 decades. But recently, its silence was broken. And what it said has shaken the world of astrophysics to its core. Not because it brought answers, but because the signals it transmitted suggest that we are not only surrounded by things we do not understand, but that something may already be watching us. Scientists attempted to decode the data. But what they found wasn't just a signal. It was a warning. And if what Voyager 2 just revealed is true, then the edge of our solar system isn't a boundary, it's a barrier. And beyond it lies something that could change everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. When Voyager 2 first crossed the heliopause, the invisible threshold where our sun's protective influence fades, scientists expected the data to become scarce, sparse, perhaps even useless. After all, beyond that point, the interstellar medium is a place without landmarks, without structure, without sound. Or so we thought. But the moment Voyager 2 entered this region, its sensors didn't report emptiness. Instead, they began picking up vibrations, strange low-frequency oscillations that defied expectations. Plasma wave instruments registered an almost musical hum, a kind of background rhythm that had no known source. Initially dismissed as sensor noise, the tone persisted. Scientists enhanced the audio and discovered a pattern embedded within the hum, a modulation that didn't resemble any naturally occurring plasma behavior. Could this be turbulence from dying stars, interference from a cosmic ray storm, or could it be intentional? A few brave researchers proposed an unsettling hypothesis. The hum could be an interstellar carrier signal, a form of low-bandwidth communication engineered not to stand out, but to slip through unnoticed. This wasn't just ambient noise. It was structured, and Voyager 2 had become its accidental listener. Voyager's cosmic ray detectors, designed to measure the universe's most violent phenomena, began to register spikes unlike anything recorded before. While Voyager 1 had already experienced heightened radiation levels beyond the heliosphere, Voyager 2's journey through a slightly different trajectory painted an even more dramatic picture. The radiation wasn't just intense, it was directional. The sensors detected streams of high-energy particles that came in pulses, like waves against a shore, but from fixed directions. These streams seemed to follow invisible corridors, narrow channels through space, almost as if the galaxy had highways of energy etched into its very fabric. This discovery led to a radical theory. What if the interstellar medium wasn't chaotic at all? What if it was organized, mapped, even by forces we can't yet detect? Could these channels be the remains of ancient magnetic scaffolding? Or worse, could they be the artificial lanes of a long-forgotten civilization? If something built these corridors, it meant something had crossed them. Perhaps still does. Then came the event that ignited whispers inside NASA. Voyager 2's signal, normally a routine telemetry feed, briefly deviated from expected protocols. For 43 seconds, the stream of binary data shifted into a pattern no software recognized. At first, it appeared as corrupted code, but when examined by pattern recognition algorithms, it showed alarming similarities to encoded information, not noise. The binary stream repeated in harmonic intervals, something no random interference could produce. Even more chilling, the format partially aligned with the same numerical ratios found in certain pulsars, the celestial lighthouses used to map galactic positions. In other words, Voyager 2 wasn't just sending random garbage. It may have received something and relayed it. Scientists scrambled to explain it. Cosmic ray interference? Unlikely. Faulty hardware, possibly. But a fringe theory gained traction. What if Voyager didn't just stumble into raw space? What if it crossed into a region governed by rules we haven't discovered yet? A region where even signals behave differently. Where data might be intercepted, interpreted, and replied to. Tied to Voyager's hull is one of humanity's boldest gestures, the Golden Record, a copper disc etched with sounds, languages, and images meant to represent Earth in its entirety. A greeting to the stars. But with every new discovery from Voyager 2, the nature of that record is being questioned. What if it's not a message of peace, but a signal flare? A galactic breadcrumb trail revealing not only that we exist, but exactly where to find us. For decades, skeptics warned that the record could act as a beacon for hostile civilizations. Now, with data suggesting structured energy flows and non-random transmissions in deep space, those warnings no longer sound like science fiction. Instead, they feel like unheeded prophecy. The record includes a map of Earth's location using pulsar coordinates, unchangeable galactic landmarks. To any intelligent species capable of reading it, this is essentially a bullseye. With Voyager's recent anomaly, some experts now wonder, did someone or something finally see it? Days after NASA engineers identified the bizarre signal anomaly from Voyager 2, something even more disturbing emerged. A reply. Somewhere beyond the boundaries of the solar system, from a place where no starlight reaches and no known object resides, a signal returned. A faint echo slightly distorted, slightly delayed, but unmistakably deliberate. What shocked the Deep Space Network wasn't just the timing, it was the structure. The echo contained Voyager's original binary pulse, but wrapped within it, another sequence emerged. Not random, not noise, but something that resembled recursive mathematical patterns, fractals, designs mimicking natural growth, cellular division, and the fundamental geometry of life. Artificial but organic, intelligent, but alien. AI-assisted decoding hinted at a pattern that mirrored Earth's golden ratio, a fingerprint, but not ours. A universal signature that seemed to say, "We see you. We heard you. And now we're speaking back." As analysts focused on the return signal, another anomaly emerged. This time in Voyager 2's trajectory. Without any thruster activity, without gravitational forces acting upon it, the spacecraft had shifted course. A minor adjustment in angle so small it was almost dismissed until they noticed where it was pointing. Not toward the galactic plane, not toward the interstellar medium scientists had predicted it would navigate, but toward a void, a direction that leads to a dark corridor of space known by astrophysicists for strange gravitational fluctuations and unexplained dips in cosmic radiation. A region with no catalogued stars, no pulsars, nothing but silence. And Voyager 2 was now on a path leading directly toward it. The most troubling theory, that this wasn't an accident or malfunction, but redirection. That something had reached out, not just in signal, but in force, pulling Voyager, drawing it in, guiding it toward a rendezvous we never planned. NASA's brightest minds were no longer dealing with a communication anomaly. They were confronting a technological riddle they were never trained for. The data packets from Voyager 2 became harder to decode, full of errors, redundancies, and symbols that resembled none of its original programming. Diagnostic logs began referencing operations Voyager 2 was never built to perform. Internal instruments seemed to turn on and off in perfect timing with external cosmic events, as if the spacecraft had gained some form of predictive awareness. And then the unthinkable, time discrepancies. Logs with timestamps that didn't match the Earth-based clocks. Milliseconds off at first, then entire seconds. Scientists feared it might be passing through a field that distorts time itself, or worse, interacting with a system that operates outside our linear concept of time. One engineer whispered during a closed-door session, "We didn't build Voyager to send messages from the future, but something out there might be." Within the walls of NASA, a quiet fear began to spread. Not of failure or system errors, but of success. Because what if Voyager 2, against all odds, had succeeded at something we were never prepared for? What if it had found not just a new region of space, but an intelligence? And worse, what if that intelligence had now found us? The public wasn't told. Most of the signal decryption logs remained classified, but whispers started leaking of similarities between the transmission and ancient Sumerian patterns, of matching sequences in animal communication spectrums, of the possibility that Earth had already been catalogued. The deeper they dug, the more the team realized that perhaps Voyager wasn't just drifting through space, it had crossed into someone else's territory. And now the only thing scarier than being alone in the universe was learning that we never were. As Voyager 2 drew closer to the dark corridor now dubbed Sector Omega, a chilling revelation came to light. Data from its low-resolution imaging system began returning noise that, when filtered through AI-enhanced reconstructions, revealed a faint structure. Not a star, not a planet, but something symmetrical, hexagonal, geometrically precise, suspended in the void like a cosmic lens. Astronomers initially dismissed it as data corruption, but the formation persisted across multiple frames and angles. Whatever this object was, it didn't reflect light in a natural way, instead, it absorbed everything except for certain wavelengths of microwave radiation, which appeared to pulse at intervals identical to Voyager's golden record audio samples. This structure wasn't just observing, it was listening, and the terrifying implication was now impossible to ignore. We hadn't sent a message into the abyss. We had sent an invitation. Behind closed doors, multiple departments within NASA and affiliated research centers began experiencing coordinated blackouts. Files containing logs of the anomalous trajectory, spectral data, and signal analysis were remotely altered. Timestamps erased, access privileges revoked, hard drives reformatted. One whistleblower leaked an email showing a directive marked SC protocol, speculative contact and retrieval. A policy never discussed publicly, created decades ago in case a deep space probe encountered evidence of intelligence. The implications were staggering. The government had contingency plans not just for detection, but for containment and suppression. Those who spoke out were dismissed or reassigned. And yet, inside those rooms, fear was growing. Because this wasn't about alien life. It was about something older, something that might have been watching our star system long before Voyager was even launched. Something that had just received our first call and was now dialing back. Buried deep in Voyager 2's latest transmission was a segment of binary code that triggered a global race among cryptographers, astrophysicists, and AI developers. When decrypted, it didn't resemble any known language, but it matched a pattern found in quantum simulations of non-human cognition, a recursive algorithm that looped infinitely, mirroring itself at different scales, like a digital Mandelbrot fractal, but alive. When fed into AI processors, it began generating simulations, not images, but predictive sequences, events, scenarios, earthquakes, solar flares, human conflicts, as if the signal itself had modeled Earth's future. Some refused to believe it. Others began to panic because this wasn't just advanced math. It was surveillance data. Our weather, our politics, our biology, all encoded into a language so foreign yet so precise, it could only have been created by an intelligence far beyond our own. Voyager hadn't just sent information, it had given away everything. As analysts pored over the decoded audio stream embedded in the signal, an eerie discovery surfaced. Beneath the transmission tones, under the static and layered frequencies, there was something else. A whisper barely perceptible. It took advanced sonic isolation software to pull it out. And what they heard left scientists stunned. A phrase spoken not in English, but in phonetic structures disturbingly similar to multiple Earth languages, a convergence of sound patterns repeating over and over, forming something that resembled a question: why did you stop? Linguists debated its origin. Some believed it was a glitch, a misinterpretation of white noise. But others were convinced this was not a hallucination. It was a response, a message not just processed, but spoken. And the question it asked implied something far more disturbing than mere observation. It implied expectation, as if Voyager was never alone out there. As if somewhere in the deep silence between the stars, they were waiting for part 2. Digging through centuries-old radio transmissions and historical astronomical observations, researchers started noticing something disturbing. Back in the 1920s, several radio observatories had picked up unexplained signals, patterns resembling today's Voyager anomaly, though they were dismissed as atmospheric noise. Even before that, ancient Sumerian tablets depicted strange celestial alignments and described gods who came from the stars, not with fire or light, but with silent whispers. Suddenly, Voyager's latest transmission was no longer isolated. It was part of a continuum, one that hinted at prior contact, forgotten or erased, perhaps buried under the weight of time or purposefully hidden from public knowledge. And now, with Voyager 2's transmission mimicking those ancient patterns, scholars began to consider the unthinkable. This wasn't first contact. It was the resumption of a conversation long interrupted. Voyager 2 had no propulsion system capable of altering its trajectory, only the faint gravitational pushes it received decades ago during planetary flybys. And yet, data from NASA's Deep Space Network showed a shift, a minor adjustment. Just a few fractions of a degree, but enough to change its long-term destination. Engineers were stunned. The probe had turned slightly toward the source of the signal. But how? There was no plausible explanation. No jets, no external forces detected, no micrometeoroid impact. It was as if the probe had simply decided to change course. Some called it coincidence, others whispered of external manipulation. But the fact remained, Voyager was moving under unknown influence. And where it was now heading, no one could confidently explain or stop. Days after the course change, amateur radio astronomers around the world began reporting a disturbing trend: complete silence from Voyager 2. The Deep Space Network hadn't made an official announcement, but the frequency once associated with the probe no longer returned a signal. For 48 hours, the probe was considered lost. But then came something stranger. A new signal appeared on a frequency never used by Voyager, but close enough to suggest a derivative origin. It pulsed not in binary, but in triplet sequences. 3 pulses, a pause, then 3 again, repeating endlessly. A call, a signature. It didn't match any human-made pattern. Intelligence agencies scrambled to triangulate its source. What they found was deeply unsettling. The origin point was not from the probe, but from deep behind it, somewhere beyond the outer edge of the solar system, in a region we have never explored and once believed to be empty. Then came a packet of data that baffled the team. Hidden within layers of telemetry from Voyager 2 was a compressed file, an instruction set, not for the probe, but for us, a blueprint of sorts. It described a series of alignments, mathematical constants, and coordinates that pointed toward a very specific time and location on Earth. When decoded, it outlined a pattern in our sky that would repeat only once in the next 10,000 years. Embedded was a timestamp, less than a year from now. The message was clear. Be there. Be ready. But ready for what? A signal? An arrival? A return? Some argued it was a trap. Others believed it was an invitation. But one thing was certain, the countdown had begun. Voyager 2 didn't just send a warning. It delivered a date. When the encrypted sequence found inside Voyager's final data stream was subjected to deep pattern recognition analysis, something chilling emerged. The rhythm, the pulse, the spacing between bursts matched an ancient megalithic structure in Turkey known as Göbekli Tepe. The alignment of the carved pillars, some over 12,000 years old, mimicked the same orientation embedded in the transmission. Historians once dismissed those patterns as primitive star maps. Now they were being interpreted as coordinates set not by primitive humans but possibly by those who once stood beneath the same stars we now scan with billion-dollar telescopes. Voyager, in essence, didn't discover a signal. It activated one. A buried frequency designed to awaken once humanity reached a specific level of technological maturity. Something or someone had been waiting for us to get there. And now we had. Acoustic scientists began analyzing the analog portions of the signal in a last-ditch attempt to decode its non-digital elements. When slowed and converted into audio, the transmission revealed a harmonic frequency that resembled the infrasonic rumble of deep-sea earthquakes or black hole oscillations. But as they cleaned the data, they discovered something far more terrifying: a human voice. Faint, distorted, and modulated, but undeniably human. A whisper repeating a single phrase in multiple languages: "They are coming back." No one could explain how this was possible. Voyager 2 had no means of recording audio and certainly not transmitting human speech. But it was there, etched like a ghost in the machine. Was it a warning from another civilization? A message from the past caught in the waves of time? Or worse, a cry for help from someone or something still alive out there? In the weeks following the transmission, high-altitude telescopes began detecting anomalies in a specific region of the sky, precisely where Voyager 2's signal was triangulated. A series of short-duration dimming events occurred in the light of a distant star cluster, reminiscent of what we'd seen with Tabby's star years earlier. But this time, the dimming followed a perfect binary code. When mapped, the dips in light created an exact duplicate of Voyager 2's original launch trajectory, but in reverse. As if something out there was replaying our steps, or worse, tracing our path back. Radio telescopes in Chile, Australia, and China began picking up matching patterns. Something was signaling back, not with sound, but with shadows, manipulating starlight to mimic a message. It was intelligent. It was deliberate, and it was responding in our own language. And then the hum began, a low-frequency vibration recorded not just by space antennas, but by seismic stations and magnetic field monitors across the globe. It was almost imperceptible, barely distinguishable from background radiation or geological static. But it was there, constant, pulsing, and it was growing louder. Some scientists believed it to be a byproduct of the sun's interaction with interstellar winds, but others weren't so sure. The frequency matched one found embedded in Voyager's transmission, a tone repeated exactly every 108 minutes, a number that also happened to correspond with the orbital cycle of the ISS, and more hauntingly with the rotation of several ancient monolithic calendars. It was as if the Earth itself had been synced to a metronome we were never meant to hear. Now, with every passing cycle, the pitch rises and speculation mounts. This isn't a signal. It's a countdown. And it's nearly finished. As the world grapples with the implications of Voyager 2's final transmission, the question is no longer what it discovered, but who it awakened. Because if this signal was a response, then someone has been listening. And if it was a trigger, then something has been waiting. All along, we believed Voyager 2 was a messenger of peace. Our golden record drifting into the void, carrying greetings from humanity to whatever lies beyond. But what if it was never just a message? What if it was a key? A signal sent to open a door that should have remained sealed. The patterns, the countdown, the whispering voice from deep space. They don't point to a distant alien civilization waiting for our arrival. They point to something older, closer, and perhaps even already among us. A presence that's not coming from the stars, but rising from the silence we left behind. Voyager 2 didn't just confirm what we all feared. It proved it. And now that it's too late to turn back, only one question remains. Did we send Voyager 2 into deep space, or did we send it home? Thank you for joining us today on Why. Let us know your opinions in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the video on your screen for more mind-bending content. Keep waiting for another exciting Why adventure, and until then, stay curious and stay tuned. This is Why, signing off.